You're watching This Brand Geek and welcome back to the channel. In my last video, we dove into the UK's Online Safety Act, which has been in full effect since July 25th, 2025, well, last month. We talked about how this law, while marketed as a way to protect children, is sparking major concerns over privacy, free speech, and government overreach. Since then, new developments have come to light that make this whole situation even more unsettling. Today, we're exposing the hypocrisy, the gaslighting, and the Orwellian irony behind this legislation. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, and this is a big one. Remember how they keep on telling us not to use a VPN? Well, some of our own MPs are using VPNs and claiming them on expenses. That's right, while the government is telling us not to use VPNs to bypass age verification, they're doing it themselves and then charging us for their subscriptions. A Politico analysis revealed that British lawmakers, including senior ministers like Jonathan Reynolds, are charging their VPN subscriptions, like NordVPN, to expenses. By the way, if you need a VPN, then I'll leave my referral link for NordVPN in the video description and you can get up to 3 months free. This video is not sponsored by NordVPN, but hey, it's good enough for the members of parliament, right? Anyways, back to it. So they're claiming NordVPN on their expenses. This is the ultimate double standard. They're telling us that VPNs are bad for child safety, but apparently they're fine for those in power. It's like they're saying do as I say, not as I do. And let's not forget, VPN usage has skyrocketed in the UK since this act took effect, with searches for VPNs up by 1400%. People are clearly worried about their privacy, but it seems that privacy is a privilege reserved for those in positions of power, in my opinion. Now let's talk about Technology Secretary Peter Kyle. He's been out there saying that using VPNs to bypass age verification is wrong, because it undermines efforts to protect children. In an interview with Sky News, he said, verifying your age keeps a child safe, so let's just not try and find a way around. This is gaslighting at its finest. While he's preaching this message, his colleagues are using VPNs on the public's dime. It's like they're trying to guilt trip us into compliance whilst ignoring their own contradictions. The irony is even more unsettling when you consider that the government itself is monitoring online activity more closely than ever. If they're so concerned about protecting children, why aren't they addressing the real issues? It's clear that this isn't really about child safety, in my opinion. It's about control. Speaking of control, did you know that the UK government has been paying influencers to promote the Online Safety Act? Yeah, you heard that right. Influencers like Olivia Bentley from the reality TV show Made in Chelsea has been making videos in favour of the act. In one post, Bentley said this is not to ruin anyone's fun, but it's about time that children are protected online.
It's almost as if the internet is finally growing up, but in all seriousness, this is about keeping it safer for children.
It's almost as if the internet is finally growing up. In all seriousness, this is about keeping it safer for children. Sounds noble, right? But here's the kicker. These posts are part of a paid campaign by Ofcom, the regulator enforcing the act. Now, I'm all for transparency, but this feels like a sneaky way to manipulate public opinion. And let's be real, if influencers are being paid to promote government policy without clearly disclosing it, that's not just unethical, it's against UK regulations, which require clear disclosure of sponsored content under the Advertising Standards Authority. It literally states that ads must be obviously identifiable and consumers should be able to recognize that something is an ad without having to click or otherwise interact with it. Seeing as Olivia Bentley, for example, had buried her advertisement disclosure at the end of her video description, it was not clear that it was an ad without having to click on it and is therefore in breach of this regulation. Plus, she has now disabled comments on that post, so I'm guessing it didn't really go down too well with her audience. This is yet another example of the government's heavy-handed approach to controlling the narrative, and it's raising serious questions about accountability. But wait, there's more. Last month, the US President Donald Trump visited the UK and had a meeting with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. During their exchange, Trump directly asked if the government could stop censoring his social media platform, Truth Social. Trump said, "I don't think he's going to censor my site," before jokingly asking Starmer, "Will you please uncensor my site?"
Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We're not censoring anyone.
Starmer's response, "We're not censoring anyone. We have some measures there to protect children." Really? Because from where I'm standing, the Online Safety Act is all about control and censorship, and there is evidence of this. The Act forces platforms to remove content deemed harmful, which is incredibly vague and open to interpretation. Critics, including tech companies like the Wikimedia Foundation and figures like Elon Musk, argue this gives the government too much power to silence lawful speech. Starmer's claim that we're not censoring anyone feels like a denial of the obvious, especially when you consider the next points. The UK government has set up an elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. This task force, operating out of the National Police Coordination Centre, is tasked with flagging early signs of potential civil unrest. Reports from The Telegraph indicate it was created in response to last year's riots. Now, on the surface, this might sound reasonable. After all, no one wants riots or violence. But let's dig deeper. This unit is monitoring what people say online about immigration, and that's a slippery slope. Who decides what's anti-migrant or harmful? The government? Ofcom? Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said two-tier care can't police the streets, so he's trying to police opinions instead. They're setting up a central team to monitor what you post, what you share, and what you think, because deep down they know that the public aren't buying what they're selling. The government claims that this is about public safety, but it's really about stifling free speech, in my opinion. If you criticize immigration policy or express concerns about asylum seekers, you risk being flagged. This isn't just Orwellian, it's a direct attack on our right to free expression. Now let's get to a more recent development. Labour MPs, particularly Technology Secretary Peter Kyle, have been attacking Nigel Farage for opposing the Online Safety Act. In a shocking statement on Sky News, Kyle said if people like Jimmy Savile were alive today, he would be perpetrating his crimes online, and Nigel Farage is on their side. Yeah, you heard that right. Kyle accused Farage, the Reform UK leader, of being on the side of predators like Jimmy Savile because he opposes the act. This is not only inflammatory, but it's misleading. Farage has been vocal about his concerns that the act infringes on free speech and privacy, but Kyle twisted that into an accusation that Farage supports child abusers. Farage responded, calling the comments disgusting, and demanded an apology. He argued that opposing the act doesn't mean you're against protecting children, it means you're concerned about the broader implications for freedom of speech and privacy. And honestly, I think he has a point. The act, as we've discussed, has provisions that could lead to over-censorship and surveillance, which isn't exactly in line with protecting children. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying vote Conservative or vote for Reform or for Labour. That's up to you. I'm just here to be honest and tell you what I think. You can make your own mind up about which side you're on. Anyways, we have Labour MPs using inflammatory language to defend an act that not only threatens privacy and free speech, but also expands into areas like immigration, which seem out of scope for a law supposedly about online safety for children. It's like they're using child protection as a Trojan horse to push through broader surveillance and control measures. And the vague language they use in the act causes social networks to be overzealous when censoring certain posts, because they are being threatened with huge fines, 10% of global revenue or £18 million, whichever is greater, not profit, revenue. So to sum it up, we've got MPs using VPNs whilst telling us not to, the government paying influencers to push their agenda, a denial of censorship,
We're not censoring anyone,
while actively monitoring and controlling online speech, and now Labour MPs attacking critics with baseless accusations, all while the act itself includes provisions that have nothing to do with child safety. It's a masterclass in double standards and hypocrisy. The irony is unsettling, and it's clear that this act is less about protecting children and more about controlling the narrative and silencing dissent. And with task forces monitoring our every word, we're sliding further into a surveillance state. The Online Safety Act was sold as a way to protect kids, but the reality is far more troubling. It's about power, control, and eroding our freedoms under the guise of safety. In my opinion, of course. The petition to repeal the act has now reached almost 500,000 signatures, showing that the public is waking up to these issues. If you haven't signed it yet, I've linked it in the video description. Check it out and make your voice heard, even though Labour has said that they will not repeal the act. In fact, they're pushing ahead with it even faster. So what do you think about all this? Are you as concerned as I am about the direction we're heading in? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation going. I respond to pretty much every comment. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. You've been watching This Brown Geek. I'll catch you in the next one.